I recently bought a book called The Five C's of Cinematography by Joseph Mascelli, who I haven't actually researched yet, but in the introduction he's introduced as a very good person at cinematography. This book is very old. It was published in 1965 originally. And the reason I bought it was recommended in Empire as something that is one of the original sort of scripts, if you will, of cinematography. And it basically shows the original basic use of cinematography. And I say basic, but in actual fact it's really, really complicated. I've read the first 4 pages and I've covered about 2 different kinds of shots, objective and subjective. Which, don't get me wrong, they're interesting, but I can tell it's very, very in detail and very well developed. I want to use it because I find that the original use of something is the best, and it's the way it was meant to be used, especially in this being so old, published in 1965. It's just after, or sort of just at the end of Hollywood's golden age, if you will. And the only way I can see that as is being that if it was the end of the golden age, surely something must have changed, whether it be the style of film changed or something like that, I don't know, but it just seems important to me that the golden age ended and it's never found its way back again. And it may be something to do with the way films are made. So I find the original way of films being made is probably the best because, it was referred to as the golden age. There's a quote in the introduction from another cinematographer, and he says that modern films are more fast-paced, and so it's a lot harder for editors and especially cinematographers to get their idea across because they have such a smaller gap. And he was from, his work was in the 1940s and 50s, crucially, and he said films back then were too fast-paced. And we look at those films now and that most of them are ignored except for the truly brilliant ones and the truly sort of game-changing ones. So I find that very, very interesting that even then they were saying modern films are too fast-paced. I think this book will help me mostly in identifying different shots and the ways they are used and how they've worked in history. This book goes into some of the ways that the writer has experienced these shots and how he's used them and how they haven't worked and how he knows never to use them in a certain situation. And so I find that very useful in that if I want to use a certain shot and I have no idea what it is, if I just look up in this book what kind of shot it is and how it worked with him, he goes in very in detail into all the ideas he had and the way he put them on the screen and how they worked. He also says that once you know all the different film shots and all the different kinds of shots and everything like that, the ways they can be edited together, he then says that if you know that, you know how not to do a film, and if you want to try something new, make sure it hasn't been done before, because it may have been done before and flumped completely. So if you know the past, then you know how it is played out. It's like that famous quote, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And I feel that that's quite applicable here, in that if a shot has been used in some way and it failed completely, then you know never to do it again, which this book is just, it's helping you with so much. So when I get some of the way through it, I'm about 10 pages into 250 at the moment, but after that I might look at some film openings and just see how this book has helped me and how modern films stack up against old films as well. I'll catch up with you later.